You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan Larck, able to take on Twitter. Here to talk today and latest Auburn athletics news as Auburn drops a game to Oklahoma 24-17 in a game that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I assume probably leaves a bad taste in the mouth of every Auburn fan that watched it or heard about it or saw any of the pictures that have gone viral as of late, because of quite a few things that happened in this game. But again, I will say I predicted Auburn to lose this game, but I'm not upset that Auburn lost. I'm upset about how they lost. And just kind of initial thoughts before I get into the in-depth analysis of things, I think the defense deserves a lot of credit for how this game turned out. DJ Durkin had a lot of great things called for this game that, worked out extremely well. I think the defense played their best football yet. I know at the end of it, I think that John Mateer did end up having a decent box score at the end of it. But for the most part, getting pressure, you were forcing him to make throws down the field that, weren't there. And you only got one sack, but I think overall there was a lot of pressure that was given towards John Mateer. And I'll kind of stick with the defense. I think I'm just going to stick with the pros here before I get into how bad the offense really looked. I think the defense overall, it was exactly the type of defensive performance Auburn needed to see and we needed to see before we, go off to Texas A&M next week and go off to Georgia, or not go off to Georgia, but come back home and play Georgia. And then, of course, Missouri and teams like Vanderbilt down the stretch and Alabama. You need to see a coherent level of defense on the field. I think we finally got to see an example of that versus Oklahoma. Xavier Atkins, again, had another great game. 7 tackles for him, led the team. I think the DBs played very well. The front 7 deserves a lot of credit. I'll talk about Xavier Atkins. Keldrick Falk had an outstanding game. Keiron Crawford got another turnover. The interior D-line made it tough for Oklahoma to run the football and for them to, make those home run caliber throws down the field. So again, I think DJ Durkin did a great thing with this defense for this game, at least. Hopefully this is a sign of things that we'll see for the remainder of the year. Of course, we've not seen it for more than just this game. Outside of Ball State, I guess I'll give some credit for the Ball State game. But other than that, this has been the best defensive performance we have seen thus far. So again, it's hard to talk about this because of how the rest of that game went. And of course, not going to give too much shade thrown to the only touchdown pass that John Mateer had this game, because, oh Lord, do I have opinions about that later on. Get past the offensive issues. But I'll go ahead and get started talking about the offense here. Because, again, the defense, they played well enough to where I don't think they need me to go in depth on how, I think late in the game, I think second half, you kind of saw a breakdown in a way. But again, I don't think it was a breakdown in the sense of this is why Auburn is losing this game or why Auburn lost this game. I look at the offensive side of the ball for that. And again, I'll go to the offense. I want to complain about the referees so bad. Again, this was I throw this around a lot. I think a lot of people kind of throw this around a lot. This has to be one of, if not the worst officiated game I have ever seen in my life. And again, I'm going to have a whole part of the show for that. So just kind of go to the offense for a second here. Because again, the defense, they played well. Middle of the field was left open. That's kind of my only issue I had. But they shut down the run game. And for the most part, Mateer was kind of shut down for a little bit of this game. But the middle of the field is a weak spot for this Auburn defense. If it's not outside, or if it's not a run play, and if it's a pass right down the middle, it's wide open every time. And that's how Oklahoma got a lot of their yards. But offensive side of the football, I'll kind of just start off easy. Preston Howard still cannot catch the football. He had an opportunity early in the game, and then after that, I think Auburn kind of shifted to Brandon Frazier, which I will appreciate all the time that I see that. And this offense has issues, and it is mental errors for one person, and it's just, I don't know if it's play calling, I don't know if it's scheme, I don't know what it is. This offensive line is nowhere close to where we predicted them to look like going into the season. This is a veteran-laden offensive line, and they looked abysmal. Auburn gave up 10 sacks, and now I'll get into Jackson Arnold in a second about those sacks. But 10 sacks in a game is absolutely ridiculous. Don't even mind the safety that was given up as well. Mason Murphy looked like a D3 player out there against Oklahoma. And again, the right side of the O-line has been struggling all season long. But that's not even the worst part. So 10 sacks given up. On 47% of his drop backs, Jackson Arnold saw pressure. And 2.2 yards per carry on this game. Auburn, who has been so good about running the football, only was able to get 2.2 yards per carry. Now, that's sacks included. But again, I think Jeremiah Cobb ran the ball well on his 6 attempts. Damari, ran tough for, a couple of carries. But again, it just brings down everything. 2.2 yards per carry. And again, I'm not counting the Hudson Cock botch snap thing. I'm going to get to that later on in a second as well. But penalties. If you go to look at the penalties for this game, and there are 14 total, 10 of them are offensive penalties. If I'm not mistaken. I could be. Let me check my math on that real quick. 13 penalties, and 10 of them are on the offense. And again, 2 of them are delayed games, so that's on the play caller and Jackson Arnold. The rest of those penalties are on the offensive line. Let me run through this real quick. I have it listed by player. Okay, I'll start off with Mason Murphy. He has a false start. Jeremiah Wright has a false start. Connor Liu got called for 2 holdings. Very uncharacteristic of him in this game. Dylan Wade got called for a false start. And Xavier Chaplin got called for 3 false starts. And listen, I understand Oklahoma is a tough place to play. It is. Norman is a great environment. And it's a tough place for any team to play. But when you're on Oklahoma's level, you can't get rattled like that. That is math here. 6 false starts as a team. 6 false starts. That is the entire starting offensive line I just listed out that committed 10 of those penalties. 8 of those 10 penalties. The entire offensive line. And again, Kel Ellis stepped in for Connor Liu for a few plays because, Connor Liu got knocked out with an injury for a little bit. But for the most part, this offensive line looked bad. It looked awful. It looked horrendous. And what Auburn needs to do now is you need to go back to your blueprint and you need to fix something. Listen, okay, here's the thing. Little what's the anecdote here? I woke up this morning. I looked at my bedroom floor. It was covered in laundry. I haven't done laundry in a while. I just kind of, get my clean clothes and wear those. And then I just, on the floor. I did that for the week or a couple of weeks. I had enough clothes. I'm not wearing dirty clothes. I had enough clean clothes to wear for the rest of the week. But I looked at the floor and I was like, I can't live like this. This is not how I should be, trying to manage my livelihood is, dealing with dirty laundry all the time. So I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm going to fix this. I've done laundry all day. That's all I've been doing all day is laundry. Jake Thornton is the offensive line coach for the Auburn Tigers. I hope he woke up this morning and looked at his offensive line and was like, I got to change something about this. This 5 cannot be the best 5. They can't be. I refuse to believe that the 5 we saw is the best 5. because that is absolutely ridiculous. 10 sacks, 47% of the time, Jackson Arnold was getting pressure on his dropbacks. You did not open up any holes in your run game, and you committed 8 penalties as an offensive line. And you don't know the cadence. You outside of Connor Lew, every offensive lineman committed a false start. You can't do that. Something's got to change with this offensive line. And again, I'm going to go at Jackson Arnold in a second. I think Jackson Arnold did some things where he deserves a lot of criticism for what happened in this game. And again, Auburn only lost by 7 points. Auburn only lost by 7 points to a top 10 team, regardless of how stupid that is. That, Auburn gets kicked out of the top 25 and gets moved back 4 spots. And Oklahoma gets moved up 4 spots. That's stupid. Illinois got killed, and they're still in the top 25. That makes zero sense to me, AP poll. Watch football, please. But you lost by 7 points, and it's not like Oklahoma had full control of this game. Oklahoma, and again, I cannot confidently say Oklahoma just straight out won this game. I think a lot of the factors that went into this game was Auburn making mistakes. Offensive line cannot play like that. This is a 3rd year in a row where Auburn has come into a season with hype built around the offensive line. And it's all been Hugh Freeze's offensive lines. We have been told ad nauseum that Hugh Freeze recruits and develops offensive lines. Jake Thornton does, to that credit too. But you can't keep having this. The offensive line has to make a step in the right direction. Every single person on this offensive line is a senior, except for Connor Lew, who's a junior. Jeremiah Wright makes up for that. Jeremiah Wright's been there for like 6 years. And you're making mental errors. You're getting abused by a defensive line that you should be able to match talent-wise. Good Lord Almighty. I can't fathom going through Georgia and A&M, and dude, Kentucky can play defense. You have to have some mental awareness to what's going on around you. You were just giving up sacks. And I'm going to transition this to going to Jackson Arnold and going to the play calling here, because I think a lot of the issues with this game have to do with the offense's incapability to do the right thing, to do the thing, just to play offense, to look competent. Because look, I'm gonna throw a lot of shit at the offensive line on this game because they look bad. Oklahoma just abused the offensive line the whole game. But Jackson Arnold, I don't know how many sacks I can give him credit for, but dude, you have got to get the ball out of your hand. You cannot just sit there in the pocket for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds and expect the pocket to be clean. You can't allow that to happen in your internal clock. And I think the best of the best, what they do is they get the ball out within 3 seconds of getting the snap. And I think some of it could be play calling, and I think some of it is just mental errors on Jackson's part. And again, I don't think Jackson Arnold played a bad game. Outside of the sacks, he was very efficient passing the football. I mean, looking at it, 21 of 32, 66% completion percentage, 220 yards, and a touchdown pass. And then 133.7 quarterback rating. It's the sacks that killed the game here for Jackson Arnold. That is his legacy in this game, is those sacks, because he took too many of them. I don't care about your completion percentage if you're throwing the ball out of bounds. If you're, and some of it is him taking too long to, make a step, to trying to run the ball too late. When your first read is covered, which they were probably holding on to Cam Coleman if he was covered over there. If you look over to your right, Eric Singleton covered, and you look down the middle and there's nothing there, you got to make that step and run. That should be a boom, boom, run. Not a boom, boom, oh, maybe I can run now, and then you get sacked. That's what happens whenever you're not thinking quickly enough to make a play happen. And again, some of these issues I think can be called to the play calling. Can be put on the play calling. If you freeze and Derek Nix and Kent Austin and whoever is calling the plays on every single down, like they're saying they did, If you want a down the field passing attack, you need to build up to that. You don't just do that and it happens. You're not Mike Leach. This is not an air raid system. You're not built for that quite yet. And of course, you have the players to do that. I think Auburn is still uber talented enough to do that. But when you play a team that's on your level or above, you got to try to run the football. You have got to do these short passes. You've got to do these medium passes. And again, I think there were some great play calls that did happen. I mean, Eric Singleton's should have had Eric Singleton should have had a touchdown pass in this game. But, Oklahoma can't cover Cam Coleman without holding on to him. But the ref was facing the other direction and didn't call a PI, so that's insane. And again, I'm going to rip the SEC officials in a second. Don't worry about that. But play calling has got to be fixed. If it's a confidence issue for Jackson Arnold, you need to call the plays correctly to build his confidence up. Let him get 3 or 4, 5-yard completions in a row. Let him do a little slant route in the middle. Let him do an out route. Let him, you have these receivers that can make those plays happen. And you know what? A Horatio Fields is what you recruited him to do. Make those 7-yard catches. Cam Coleman could take a little curl route and like a 6-yard curl route and take that and go. It'd be as simple as that. He could just take a little 6-yard curl route and go. It just got to call the plays correctly to get him confident enough to then make those plays, which he missed on a deep ball. He overthrew it just a tad bit, and Cam couldn't grab it. And it happened earlier in the game, but I think that one went more to Cam's fault because he slowed up a little bit. But the touchdown pass in the end zone, that was fully on Jackson. He threw that thing way too far out. But again, I think it's a confidence thing. And, that's when you get the statues in the pocket. That's how that happens. So the offense has to evaluate their scheme. The defense, do what you did this week, but fix a couple of things. Defend the middle of the field better, but continue to get pressure on the quarterback. And, if you keep getting pressure on the quarterback, maybe the secondary doesn't have to do too much. And that's how it looked today or yesterday. But the offense, you've got to get clicking. Offensive-minded head coach. The focal point of this team should be scoring a lot of points. You have the running backs to do it. You have the wide receivers to do it. You have a quarterback with the potential to do it. O-line, you should have the potential to do that. But you're making mental errors and you're letting yourself get beat up. You can't let that happen. Can't let it happen. And before I get to the incompetent officials, I do want to mention special teams attributed a lot of what happened in this game because the special teams for Auburn are, again, another issue. Alex McPherson made a field goal, which, he has health issues. He can't kick a 40, 50-yard field goal right now. But he's automatic from up close. Auburn, at this point, you just need to go for it on 4th down. If you're in plus territory, you need to go for it on 4th down because you're not making that field goal. Connor Gibbs shanked the crap out of a field goal yesterday. And again, Towns Magoo has been shanking those field goals. Just go for it on 4th down. You can't just keep missing these field goals and leaving points off the board. If it's 4th and 4 and you're on the 35-yard line, go for it. If it's 4th and 4 and you're on the 40 and you're on the 48-yard line or wherever you can think you can possibly make a kick from, punt it. Try to punt it deep enough to where they get down at the 1-yard line. But even then, the punting, there was a terrible snap by Reed Hughes, which is a rare occasion to see a player like with the Connor Lew and the holding calls. It was a rare occasion to see Reed Hughes just make an absolutely terrible snap. And then Hudson Cock made an absolutely boneheaded decision by trying to run with it. Just punt the ball. Just punt the ball. Just kick it with your left foot. Just try something. Again, I understand he's a rugby player, but a lot of that does not get to translate over to football. And again, it was so deep in the Auburn side of the field that it would have been bad regardless. But at least if you punt the ball, you can at least get them out of field goal range. And then your defense has been playing good up to that point, can make something happen. And I'll go over to Malcolm's side of the ball with the punt returning. Malcolm, dude, you can fair catch the ball. You can let the ball go into the end zone and we get the ball at the 25-yard line. Malcolm Simmons made a boneheaded mistake trying to run the ball after catching it in the end zone, and then Auburn got down like the 3-yard line. Cannot let that happen. And again, a good kickoff return got called back because of another block in the back. Special teams, again, another issue for Auburn. You need to reevaluate what your plans are for these issues. Offensive line, play calling, and internal clock issues, just mental mistakes are the big thing here with Auburn. But again, it's hard for me not to immediately just go rip into what I saw yesterday. And before I do that, and I think everyone kind of knows what's about to happen, I'll go through y'all's comments. I do see some Oklahoma fans in the comment section. Teresa, War Eagle, and Meep Meep as well. I don't remember, did UTSA win yesterday? I was too busy in the fetal position watching after the Auburn game to know if UTSA won or not. Oklahoma fans got robbed by a great defense. Boomer. I thought it was Boomer. Okay. Cool. Cody Jones. There's a good chance of Auburn is gonna lose 2 or 3 straight. Okay. I can see a point there, but also the grammar's wrong. But again, if Auburn does not fix these issues, and you have a bye week between A&M and Georgia, issues can be fixed. Got rid of Jackson Arnold for a reason. I don't know if y'all got rid of Jackson Arnold or if it was more or less because it's been stated by the coaches they wanted to keep Jackson. They didn't want Jackson Arnold to leave. So, I don't think he got rid of Jackson Arnold. I think he just wanted a fresh start. Cameron Carr, I think will be fine. Oklahoma was determined to prove their defense is legit. So was the SEC officiating crew. Jackson Arnold played fine too. Yeah, he held on too long a few times, but overall he was decent. Now special teams is definitely a problem. Special teams, O-line, definitely problems. I think Jackson Arnold's can be adjusted still. I think, he did not get a lot of development at Oklahoma. So Auburn had to, pull 2 years of that into an off season. So again, I do think Jackson Arnold can get better from here. Again, he did not play bad. I don't think Jackson Arnold had a bad game. It was just those sacks that were taken and the couple of missed plays that occurred that, it leaves a sour taste in the mouths of Auburn fans that were watching Jackson Arnold. Again, this loss does not ruin the season for Auburn. And then confirmation for Teresa, UTSA did win the game. So sweet. Cool. Almost that we won if we could have held that last drive. I believe that. So now to get to my biggest gripe with this game, the SEC officiating crew that was over this. And again, there were bad calls on both sides. I'll admit to that. There were some calls Auburn got that Oklahoma should have, could have complained about on Twitter about as well. But they were egregiously bad on Auburn's side. I'll start off with that first touchdown pass from John Mateer. That play is what you call illegal. You cannot do anything to deceive the defense into thinking your player was going to come off the field. I don't care if he looked at the ref and checked in. That's an illegal play. The SEC came up with a statement earlier today that acknowledged that. And I will even, if I can go find it real quick, I know I sent it around. So the SEC released a statement today talking about in Saturday's Auburn at Oklahoma football game with 10:50 remaining in the second quarter, a pass was thrown to Oklahoma and resulting to Oklahoma number 5, resulting in a touchdown. Oklahoma number 5 participated in the previous play. So first down, 22-yard line. If the first down play was completed, basically saying rule whatever of unfair. It's on Twitter. Yeah, just go look it up. I don't want to read the whole thing because it annoys the crap out of me. But here's my part that irked me the most. Okay, here's the thing. You apologize. Cool. But guess what? Auburn lost the game by 7 points. You gifted 7 points by not doing your job correctly. And at the end of here, at the end of it says, appropriate accountability will be applied without additional comment. Awesome. So we're just never going to hear what accountability happens. In college football, the NCAA or whoever is the regulating body nowadays are so determined to hold the athletes and coaches and everything accountable in the public eye. If a coach messes up, he has to answer to the public, to the media. He has to make an answer for what happened. If a player messes up, they have to make a statement and be held accountable for what they did. But for some reason, and when it's a player and a coach, fine, throw them out into the spotlight. They have to be held accountable for what they did. And that's just how it has to be. The player and coaches are in the public eye, so they must be held accountable in the public eye still. We must see what punishments are happening. They have to be, suspended indefinitely. They have to be held out the first half of the game. They have to be this. They have to be that. But you've seen it with the Sharon Moore in Michigan cheating and winning a championship because they cheated. A little slap on the wrist. Your coach can't coach for 2 games. Public eye. Would the referees do something like this? When they interfere with the outcome of the game? Nothing. Additional accountability will be done without further comment. What does that mean? So you're going to hold them accountable in your own space? No, you can't do that. If you're going to do the same, if you're not going to do the same thing that you would do to a player or a coach, then just say you're not going to do anything. Just say you're not going to do anything. That's exactly what you have to say. Say you're not going to do it. Just say you're not going to do it. I needed more statements made. Auburn forced a fumble in the first quarter. On that first drive of the game, Auburn forced a fumble, picked it up, and ran it in for a touchdown. Scoop and score, called back because the pass was ruled as incomplete. Cool. Well, guess what? Later on in the game, Oklahoma completed a pass down the field. He did not maintain possession of it all the way through the catch. They ruled it incomplete, reviewed it, and like, oh, well, actually, this was a catch. If that was a catch, then the other one was one as well. If that last catch that you called a catch, if that last play was a catch that you ruled a catch after reviewing it, you saw indisputable video evidence that incompletion was a completion, then there's no way you had indisputable evidence that completion was an incompletion. That would have had Auburn score a touchdown on the first defensive drive of the game. It's ridiculous. And again, there was the Eric Singleton pass that was I don't know if he would have let it a little bit more, might have been a touchdown. But regardless of the fact, the referee that was in the backfield, the back judge, I don't know where his brain was looking, but it was not at the ball. It was not where the ball was. I saw a referee running for his life, facing away from the play. And then Cam Coleman got tackled in midair 3 yards before the ball got to him. Tackled. No call. Absolute no call. I don't know what the SEC needs to do, but for starters, you need to do the same thing you do to these players and coaches to your own employees. If you mess up, if your people mess up, you cannot just hide in the shadows and be like, okay, we'll do something about it. We're not going to tell you what it's going to be. We're going to do something about it. No, if a player, gets caught, speeding or whatever and commits a violation of whatever, you got to put him out there. You have to make sure he's suspended indefinitely. You have to make sure that he's out for a half. If a coach does something, a recruiting violation, he's suspended for 2 games. He can't, he's losing scholarships. And there's articles on ESPN. There's segments on the news about it. Sports Center's talking about it. But these referees, nothing happens. Nothing happens. And again, they don't have a name on their jersey. They're not the head coach of a football program. They're just some average Joes who got a refereeing license and are able to go out there on the field every Saturday and make sure that they get some TV time. Guess what? I saw the refs just as much as I saw Coach Freeze. I saw the refs just as much as I saw Brent. I saw the refs just as much as I saw Jackson Arnold or John Mateer or anybody else in that field. The refs were always on the TV. They're public figures as well. They should have to answer for what their calls were. Why was their judgment call different there than what the rule book says? It makes no sense to me. And again, I can't fully state. And again, I hate blaming the refs for games, and I'm not going to do that. I think Auburn had every opportunity to win this game, and they didn't efficiently get it done. They made their own mistakes that did not require a yellow flag being thrown down. But they did a lot of stupid stuff. But you cannot, in the biggest stage of college football, when I say ranked versus ranked, SEC versus SEC matchup, you cannot allow rules to be ignored. You cannot have refs who are not paying attention to what's happening on the field. This is and again, prime time is when a game is at a specific time, I consider it to be a primetime game, depending on the channel it's on. SEC on ABC at 2:30 or 3:30, whichever time zone you're a part of, that is a prime kick. That's a primetime kick. Again, 6 o'clock on ESPN, primetime kick. At 11 o'clock on Fox, that's a primetime kick. Those are the games where all eyes are on what's happening on this particular screen at this particular time. All eyes, I can't say all eyes, but most eyes were on this Oklahoma-Auburn game. And you did that. You absolutely committed umpire malpractice, referee malpractice, and an egregious abuse of power is what I said to my fiance angrily yesterday whenever I was trying to explain to her why I was so upset about what I saw on that television. And again, I don't want this to come off as I'm blaming the refs for the loss, but I'm going to blame the refs for the points that were left off the board and the points that were gifted on the board. And again, Oklahoma fans are on Twitter, praising those calls. Oklahoma said they practiced that play, which clearly, if you did, you missed a page of the rule book there. You didn't talk to somebody to see if that play was legal. I mean, I think Nickelodeon has done a play like that before, and it was completely illegal play as well. You can't just do that. You can't do it. It's illegal. You should have known the rule book. If you don't know it's like getting a driver's license but knowing how to drive. You cannot be the rule officiator of a football game without knowing the rules of the game itself. Those referees should be held accountable. And I don't mean like without additional comment. I mean, you need to have those refs should have to sit in front of a panel and talk to the media. The same way Coach Freeze had to talk to the media yesterday after losing that game. Same way Jackson Arnold had to sit in front of that media and get scrutiny for holding the ball too long and taking sacks. That ref did not call a flag on that touchdown pass. He should have to answer for that. I'm sick of it. And again, it's the same thing with the AP poll. The AP poll, they got a lot of backlash over the past few weeks. And what did they do? They opened it up and was like, all right, we'll do a fan poll now. We'll let y'all kind of have your chances. But again, that's not holding your voters accountable for not watching the game. The NCAA, the AEC, whoever is regulating college football nowadays, the SEC, Greg Sankey, you have got to hold these refs accountable. I heard of this thing on Marty and McGee before SEC Now or SEC Nation started or whatever it was. And, McGee talked about how his dad was a ref and he was talking to a coach and the coach graded the ref. Those report cards should be sent out. If they still do grading refs or whatever they did back in the day, those should be publicized. You have got to hold these people accountable. You've got to. And this turned to a giant rant, which, I mean, whenever I picked Auburn to lose this game. I did. I picked Auburn to lose this game. It was, I think, 34-27 was my prediction. I picked Auburn to lose this game. And again, I'm not mad about Auburn losing. I'm mad about how they lost and what transpired in this game. Jackson Arnold has got to learn to get the ball out quicker or learn what to do with the football quicker. The offensive line has got to be able to pick up blitzes and be able to protect the quarterback If they can't protect the quarterback, then those guys should not be out there. The defense, you got to cover the middle of the field. You got to. It's my only gripe with the defense. Special teams, you got to step up. I have been an Auburn fan. I am 25 years old. I've been an Auburn fan consciously for 20 years, 21 years. Because my first game was 04 at the Citadel. I don't quite remember it, but I can count. I'm going to start that with consciously being an Auburn fan. I remember going to that game. I have never had a span like this where I have been so worried about fourth down for the offense. Because I know punting the ball could be a mishap. I know that kicking the ball can be a mishap. I've learned that punt returning can be a mishap. Over the past few years, I have been terrified of punt returners because I don't know if they're going to catch the ball or do something stupid with it. Malcolm, you got to have better control of what you're doing with the ball. You need to have a better awareness of where you are on the field. Don't try to catch the ball at the 1 yard line, try to do something with it. No, let that ball bounce into the end zone. If it bounces and stays at the 1 yard line, I'm not going to be mad at you. It's not your fault that ball is weirdly shaped and bounces the other way or just dies right there on the 1 yard line. It's not your fault. I'm not going to gripe you for that because in my brain, if I'm a punt returner, and again, I played offense. I'm a fairly large dude, so I did not play the skill position. I did not play any skill position. I played line, so I don't know what it's like to be in the mindset of that. But I would know if I'm backing up and I'm at like the 20, 15 yard line, I'm backing up and I'm looking up. You should have some kind of mental note of where you are on the field. And if I have to back up like 5+ yards, I'm not going to go for the ball anymore. I'm going to get away from it. You got to pick that up. You got to pick up that, mindset that, not every punt needs to be returned. Not every punt needs to be returned. And again, Malcolm is an athletic dude. He is quicker than most. He is shiftier than most. He will do some damage with the ball in his hands. We've seen it happen before. He got a rushing touchdown or passing whatever that. I think it was a passing touchdown. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I'd have to receiving touchdown. I'm not mistaken. Was it not a passing touchdown? Was it a rushing touchdown? Okay, I gave him a rushing touchdown. Not every punt needs to be returned. You can let it go. Rashawn Pleasant has history of returning kicks for touchdowns, so maybe he can have that. Malcolm, you got a punt return touchdown last year, but that's because it was blocked and you were on the rushing the punter, blocking the punter, part of the punt returning. So you don't have to return every punt. You let it go. And then the refs, I think I went on like a 15-minute rant about the refs, which I hate doing. But again, it was that bad to where it deserved it. So I'm gonna go my grades, and I'm gonna do my offensive player of the week, and I'll do these last few comments, and then I'll get up out of here. Let y'all kind of enjoy the rest of your weekend. Of course, I didn't hate my Sunday. The Carolina Panthers absolutely mollywopped the Falcons 30-0. So I had a happy Sunday. But Saturday, a whole other story. Sour taste in my mouth for the entire day. I'll kind of just go highest to lowest here. The defense got the highest grade of the day. I gave them an A-. You held Oklahoma to their lowest point total of the year. Only one passing touchdown given up, which was on a fluky illegal play that should not have counted ever. Rushing touchdown. I mean, they did what they could against John Mateer, of course. It's going to happen with John Mateer. He is A- for the defense. Offense D+. And again, this is being taken into account because the sacks were given up, plays were missed, explosive plays were missed. I thought about doing a C, but again, you cannot give up 10 sacks. You cannot have an internal clock that does not work. You have to make those big plays down the field. D+ is as high as I wanted to go with this one. And then for this one, I had to add special teams. F. Big, fat F for special teams. That's what they got for that. Offensive player of the game for me was Cam Coleman. 3 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Should have had some more catches in this game. Again, one was on him. The other one was on Jackson. Cam Coleman should have had like 200 yards receiving in this game. Again, 7 targets, 3 catches. Again, I don't think any of those were drops. Not mistaken. They were just miscues that happened. But 3 catches, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Again, Cam Coleman on pace to be the best receiver in Auburn football history, in my opinion. Defensive player of the week, could have picked a couple of guys. I just want to go front 7 here. I'm going to go Keldrick Falk, got the 1 sack of the evening and 2 quarterback hurries. Could have went with a lot of guys. Kieran Crawford got the fumble recovery. Xavier Atkins led the team in tackles. Rashawn Pleasant had a decent day. Had a PBU. Eric Winters had a decent day. Just got to get better at defending the middle of the field defense. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts of the game. Again, I'm going to kind of go through the comments in a second. But yeah, you got to make those plays when they're given to you. When Cam Coleman is that open, when they leave Cam on one-on-one coverage, you got to get the ball to Cam. And it's got to be in grabbing range. It's got to be. And again, he's a lengthy dude. He's got some length to him. He is 6'3". And can jump over the moon to get the ball. But if it's out of his reach, you got to fix that. You need to be in the same mental headspace as your wide receiver. And again, one of those was not on Jackson. The other one of them was on Cam because Cam slowed up a little bit. But the other one fully on Jackson. The other one on the referee for not calling a PI, which that was not a pass from Jackson. That was a pass from Eric Singleton. But regardless. Sour taste in my mouth. Season's not over with. A&M's up next. Another tough test. College Station's going to be another ruckus environment. You have a week to get these issues fixed. But if you can survive against A&M, you can make it through the bye week, and then you have 2 weeks to get everything underway before you play against Georgia in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I don't think Hugh Freeze is any more on the hot seat than he was before the season. I think he's Baylor got him quartered off a little bit. I don't think this game heated it up anything. I think if you have another game where your offense looks like this, then that's a whole other story. But I just can't be on the fire Hugh Freeze wagon right now. It's not on my radar. I think Auburn played a very good team, and I think they played them very well. But there were some mental errors that costed Auburn in this game. So you got to get those fixed in a week, and you got to get them fixed in 3 weeks before you play against Georgia. So I'll go through the comments, and I'll get up out of here. Teresa talking about Colorado State and UTSA. Cameron Carr, 14-point swing on the refs is the main reason we lost, though. Auburn was still overcoming their mistakes. Refs just made sure we couldn't win. I'll go either way on that one. Auburn could have got out of those issues a lot easier by just throwing the ball away. But I don't disagree entirely. Especially since had a good day. We may have won that game despite the other mishaps. Malcolm Simmons throwing that punt and the terrible snaps. Absolutely. The penalties on special teams, too. Blocks in the back. We can't give up 15 every time we get a 30-yard run. Exactly. Every time Rashawn Pleasant got past the 25-yard line, someone pushed someone in the back. Which, I mean, that's why it was such a miracle that Rashawn Pleasant got one anyways against Baylor. I was so shocked. I could not be happy in the moment that Rashawn Pleasant got the kick return touchdown because of the fact that I was so scared that the little yellow ticker was going to come up and say flag. So those are discipline issues. Those are discipline issues that have to be fixed going forward, and they should have already been fixed before the season. Mech Mechanic says Auburn got skull dragged by OU. So sad. I would not say skull dragged. I wouldn't even say they really dominated us in any way, but to teach their own. Madison AU Chief, the refs affected the game by 21 points. All those went OU's way. OU fans should be very proud. A win is a win, though, right? This is not one I would brag about. OU or Auburn would have put up 30 on OU. Well, if you give Auburn the 7 that they took away, it's a tied football game. If you take away the 7 that they gave OU, it's a tied game. So again, the game could have gone either way if those calls would have been made correctly. But yeah, they should not. At some point, you have to realize that a bunch of older, like 50, 60-year-old dudes running around the field aren't going to get the job done correctly most of the time. The NFL is doing some great things with putting chips in the ball and whatnot. So maybe just having more cameras to, foresee what's going on. I don't know. It's something to get the refs should have as much power as they do into the outcome of the game. Scott, like Auburn never won a game with a bad call. Y'all sound, I did not read the rest of that. I can honestly say that Auburn, I can't think of off the top of my head where Auburn definitely got away with some calls. But yeah, that's some very, I'm going to put you in a timeout. I apologize for putting that up there. Did not see that whole comment. I can't say Auburn has never won a game because of some calls, but definitely those games like that should be up for, some discussions about the controlling of Referees. Mick McKenna again, wish we could claim a victory like the championships we claimed earlier. I mean, who's to say that we can't in a couple of years? Maybe John Mateer was point shaving, so we can claim the win in a couple of years. Teresa again, Coach Freeze shouldn't be on the hot seat at all. It's hard to win on the road in the SEC against a really great team. I agree. Again, I think, Auburn fans have this issue that comes with overreacting. I can say this because I've been an Auburn fan for 20 years, and I also have an issue with overreacting. My fiance will tell you I have an issue with overreacting about a football game. But again, I'm never one. Like, I always go back to the Gus Malzahn thing. Did I think Gus Malzahn should have get fired when he did? No, but I was not going to be upset about it because I do think he had grown stale at that point. But Coach Hugh Freeze went into Baylor and dominated Baylor on the ground. Came to this game, tried to do something a little different, didn't work out. It was a game where you weren't favored to win. You were underdog. You were 6.5 point underdog, and you lost by 7. There were some things that didn't work on the field that you tried again. You kept trying to get to work. Again, it sucks. But regardless, Coach Hugh Freeze is not in the hot seat. If he loses, if the same issues keep coming up for A&M and Georgia, and I'd even say Missouri, I think conversations are to be had then. But again, this is the toughest stretch of the season thus far that Auburn has to deal with. I mean, it's the toughest stretch of the season at all, just in general for Auburn. Skull dragged by the refs, I agree. Haven't had the chance to see Auburn fans cry live yet. Well, I just don't do it on camera. Some people just hate Hugh Freeze, and even if we won yesterday, they'd be calling for him to be fired for some reason. I completely agree. There's some Auburn fans that got some delusional tendencies. And then Madison, no hot seat for Coach Hugh Freeze. He's not lost this team. They're still playing hard. I agree. Yeah, that's going to be another timeout. Just don't cuss in the comments. You can be an Oklahoma fan and be upset that you got gifted some calls, but you don't got to cuss. You don't got to cuss in the comments. It's crazy. But that's going to be all for this installment of the College Loop. Of course, across this week, we're going to be previewing the A&M game. Of course, Tuesday, we'll be going over the Hugh Freeze's press conference and then kind of going over what Auburn can do to make sure that they can get out of College Station with a win. So stay tuned for that. That'll be on Tuesday. And, of course, on Thursday, we'll have the preview show, give my predictions for that game and the rest of college football. Of course, I've not been doing a great job of picking games outside of the Auburn games. I'm a perfect record picking Auburn games, but I'm terrible when it comes to the rest of college football. But with that being said, thanks for tuning in to the College League Podcast. Thank you, everybody who was tuned in, except for y'all too, who were cussing in the comment section and saying some very, very bad language. But thank you all for tuning in to the College League Podcast. Of course, I'm Larck. I put it on Twitter, and of course, that being said, Stay tuned for the remainder of the College Loop podcast. Of course, enjoy the new rebrand that's now official. All the social media platforms have the new College Loop logo and kind of getting the new feel to them as well. But again, with that being said, thanks for joining us of the College Loop podcast. Yet again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Of course, getting so very close to that 1,000 subscriber margin. We are currently 37 followers away from getting there. So getting so very close. With that being said, don't forget to leave your thoughts, comments below in this game. Auburn's season's not over with yet. It's not done. There's still plenty more Auburn can do to turn the season, get back on the right track. But it's going to take some. It's going to take some great coaching, and I think Hugh Freeze can do it. Just need to start seeing it. But that being said, this is College podcast. Said again, I keep saying that, but I'm trying to just ending the show. Of course, as always, War Eagle.